Exploring hedonism, the pursuit of pleasure and personal fulfillment. Understanding hedonism and its philosophy. To comprehend hedonism effectively, it's vital to understand its profound philosophy. At the heart of hedonism lies the belief that pleasure is the ultimate good. Everything we do is intrinsically linked to seeking happiness and reducing suffering. In essence, it advocates for a higher prominence on pleasures that stimulate our senses like food, music, and art, but also stresses intellectual and emotional joys. The depth in hedonism arises when you consider its classifications: ethical versus psychological. Psychological hedonism suggests humans are wired to pursue pleasure instinctively, akin to avoiding harm or danger. This focuses more on biological predispositions rather than personal choice. On the other hand, ethical hedonism asserts that seeking pleasure should be a conscious effort as it leads towards personal fulfillment. It's not about selfish indulgence but finding harmony and maximizing overall happiness whilst minimizing pain for oneself and others around them. Hedonism, a historical perspective. In ancient times, hedonism was not simply a pursuit of carnal pleasure, it was also considered a philosophy. The Epicureans and Cyrenaics of Athens were the pioneers. They posited that happiness hinged on the fulfillment of physical needs, food, sex, and safety, also championing mental pleasures such as friendship, contemplation on life matters, and freedom from fear. Hedonistic trends evolved through time from merely corporeal indulgence to including intellectual stimulation. In the Renaissance period particularly, hedonism took a leap forward. It rotated around an embrace of earthly joys but spliced with the humanist notions detailing the importance of personal virtue in search for pleasure. From these historical insights, we can conclude hedonism wasn't always seen just as frivolous or selfishness endeavors. It stands much deeper intertwined with pursuit of knowledge and understanding one's own nature, indeed highlighting pleasure derived from peace of mind as more sustainable than merely physical gratification. Core principles of hedonism. Underpinning hedonism is the powerful principle that pleasure or happiness is the highest form of good. Impressively, this principle has not faded with time. Rather, it persists in various forms punctuating our modern lifestyle. Hedonists aren't just seeking momentary gratification, but they gravitate towards a balanced approach between immediate pleasures and long-term fulfillment. Yet, a critical insight into hedonism demolishes the myth of uncontrolled indulgence. It's rarely about living large or mindless consumption but focuses on savoring life and deriving maximum satisfaction from experiences, essentially joy optimization. This frames an intriguing perspective. Could practicing hedonism consciously redefine how we perceive contentment and personal achievement? Could we benefit from recalibrating our understanding of pleasure? Let's explore more about these enticing theories and their implications on our pursuit for ultimate contentment. Hedonism versus other ethical theories. As alluring as the pursuit of pleasure may seem, hedonism's constant chase for personal gratification often puts it at odds with other ethical theories. Unlike virtue ethics, which values moral character above all, or deontological theories that believe certain actions are intrinsically right or wrong, hedonism posits that what feels good is the highest form of good. This conflict brings a fascinating dichotomy into our discussions on ethics and morality. Should we prioritize our own happiness above societal virtuousness, or abide by universal laws irrespective of our personal fulfillment? One key point where hedonism significantly intersects with other theories is in its relationship with utilitarianism, an offshoot that advocates for the maximum happiness for a greater number. However, critics opine that this balancing act can lead to disregarding individual rights when their pleasure threatens collective happiness. Furthermore, on the receiving end of such maximum benefit, will individuals' pleasure-seeking drive ultimately lead to narcissistic tendencies? While hedonists might disagree, stating experiential richness fuels empathetic understanding rather than promoting selfishness, these intriguing questions certainly make us question if living life in the fast lane towards self-satisfaction might actually come with unnoticed ethical speed bumps. The role of pleasure in hedonistic practices. Taking center stage in hedonistic practices, pleasure serves as both the motivation and destination. It is an intangible compass that guides followers of hedonism towards actions that continue to ignite their inner happiness and fulfillment. Essentially, it's not merely about reveling in corporeal delights or material possessions, but involves a higher form of personal satisfaction derived from intrinsic values such as love, creativity, knowledge, and other forms of self-expression. The role of pleasure also underscores the careful equilibrium hedonists aim to maintain between instant gratification and long-term contentment. While indulging one's immediate desires can bring momentary joy, true hedonism redirects focus on sustainable happiness. a balance only achievable with conscious decision-making rooted in wisdom. This fascinating interplay elevates pleasure beyond shallow interpretations to an artful journey melding experience with anticipation and reaching for deep-seated serenity. Critiques and counter-arguments against hedonism. Perhaps the most compelling critique of hedonism lies in psychological evidence suggesting that ceaselessly chasing pleasure can lead to dissatisfaction. Paradoxically, this counterintuitive phenomenon, known as the hedonic treadmill, posits that we have a baseline level of happiness that we inevitably return to after experiencing highs and lows. Continual pursuit of pleasure might merely increase our perceived baseline, creating an endless cycle where satisfaction is fleetingly glimpsed but never grasped. Moreover, critics argue against hedonism on moral grounds by posing intriguing thought experiments. Suppose the ultimate pleasure was derived from an immoral activity. Would indulgence still be justifiable? This questions whether moral considerations should ever be sidelined for personal satisfaction or if there's a necessity for ethical boundaries even in the relentless pursuit of joy. It categorically invites us to debate if pleasure in itself is enough or whether context and morality play essential roles in defining true fulfillment. Personal fulfillment through the lens of hedonism. Through the lens of hedonism, personal fulfillment is more than fleeting moments of happiness or satisfaction. It's about embracing a lifestyle that leans into pleasure and steers clear from pain. The hedonistic doctrine prompts us to unwind the deeply ingrained societal notion that suffering propagates growth or accomplishment. Advocates argue that the highest state of fulfillment is in fact realized by maximizing pleasurable experiences and minimizing discomfort. Simultaneously, the path towards personal fulfillment through hedonism isn't an urge to succumb blindly to immediate gratifications. Rather, it requires acute self-awareness and reconsideration of what truly ignites joy within us, highlighting our inherent ability to control our own happiness narrative. Naturalistic hedonists find harmony in relation to nature while Epicurean hedonists cultivate tranquility through mental pleasures over bodily ones. This shows how nuanced this philosophy can be. Challenging popular perceptions on personal fulfillment through indulgence due its intricacies often being lost amidst all things superficially pleasurable. Conclusion. The balancing act between pleasure and fulfillment. In conclusion, the harmony between pleasure and fulfillment spins on an axis we must intuitively calibrate. The excitement elicited by hedonism is enticing, but it's the depth of personal fulfillment that adds a layer of richness to our lives. Just as a pebble tossed into a still pond creates ripples outwardly, each wave signifies the balance between immediate bliss and long-term satisfaction. The key lies in allowing oneself to dance amidst these ripples without losing footing completely. Maintaining this balance is an art form in itself, one that requires practice to master and patience to perfect. True delight lies not merely at either side of the spectrum but notably within its fulsome gradient hues. Herein lies a lesson worth remembering. In life's pursuit for ecstasy or mirror-like happiness reflect both fleeting pleasure and lasting fulfillment. They complement each other like two halves of a whole.